the quality of your decisions is dependent on the quality of your goals. So if there's anything that you should be paying attention to over 2026 is what your goals actually are. Because if you don't have good, clear goals that are genuinely meaningful, you will make poor decisions and you'll finish 2026 regretting everything that you've done. So let's get started in terms of what my goals are for 2026 and the advice that I'd give you around some goal setting. So I'm going to run through my goals to start with, and then I'm going to give you guys a chance to reflect on a few questions that I think will be really important. If you want to make 2026 a good year, it's going to come down to your goals. Okay, so let's get really clear in terms of what my goals are, a little bit about why they're my goals, and what you should be thinking about when it comes to setting your goals for 2026. So I've got basically 3 main goals that I want to achieve. The first kind of goals that I've got are revenue goals. And the revenue goals are split across 2 different businesses that we're going to be running. So one is a portfolio business for GTM Academy. If you didn't know, I own GTM Academy. It is basically going to be a portfolio of businesses that we run. We've got 2 businesses in there at the moment. One of them is a Punjabi tutoring business. The other one is a mindset and personal development business. The mindset one and personal development is called Rewire, and the tutoring one is called Gidda, so I might refer to either of them. So you've got Gidda and Rewire as 2 portfolio businesses. We might take on a third or a fourth over the next few months, but for now it's going to be these 2 businesses. The goal that I have for each of these is to be at December 2026, make 30k MRR for both of them. Okay, so those are my financial goals: 30k MRR for Gidda and 30k MRR for Rewire. Now, alongside that, I've got some other goals, which is more about a measure of impact that I want to have. And for me, like personally, money, great. Who doesn't love money? However, I want to be able to actually have a genuine impact on people's lives. And the closest metric that I can get in terms of like impact is followers, weirdly enough, right? I think that followers is a good indication of like, is my message resonating with people? Are people consuming the message? Are they actually taking action with that message? Are they sharing it with other people because it's actually making their life better? So even though it's not the actual number of followers that's important to me, it's a fact that if I put in effort and I create good work, then naturally that work will spread itself. It will grow. More people pay attention to what I'm doing. And as a result, I can have a bigger impact. Okay? And what that looks like for me is I've got it split into 2 different sections. I've got my Sikhi side of things, which is more so like my religious stuff, which I also want to speak a little bit more on like philosophy and like just mindset and approaches to life. So I've got some goals around that, which is 100k on Instagram, 100k followers on TikTok, and also 10k subs on YouTube. Alongside that, I want to also build like more of my personal brand, which is going to be more about the business side of things, more about like generally like my life, who I am, what kind of things that I do. And for that, I want to start hitting, or by the end of 2026, I want to hit 30k on my personal TikTok, 30k on my personal Instagram, and then also 3,000 subscribers on YouTube. I think that these goals are good, solid foundations for me thinking very clearly about how I want to spend my time. Here's a quote, or not a quote, here's a discovery that I've made recently that I think is really important. You right now are sacrificing your youth, whether you like it or not. You are sacrificing your youth. Whether you feel like it's a noble sacrifice or not, doesn't matter. The truth is, you're sacrificing your youth. If you are sacrificing your youth, you might as well decide if it's going to be a worthwhile sacrifice. What are the things that you'd actually be willing to say like, yeah, well, if I'm going to sacrifice my 20s, these are the things I want to sacrifice them for. Because your youth is slipping away whether or not you like it. Okay? That's going to happen. You don't get to control that. The only thing you do get to control is where the time goes. Okay? What goals you actually move towards. And for me, these goals, if I could hit these goals by the end of 2026, of course, family is important, my own health is important. All these other things are like part and parcel of the process, okay? But for me, if I'm going to strive towards something, these seem like goals that I'd be very happy towards hitting. So that's it for me. That's what I'm trying to move towards. These are the goals that I feel like, really excite me as well. Like if I could hit these goals, I would feel great about that. Like I would end 2026 being like, I feel accomplished. Okay. Now here's the thing. When it comes to these goals, these are not set goals. These are not permanent goals. I want to make them as permanent as possible because the more permanent a goal is, the more mentally committed you're going to be towards achieving that. Because let's say, for example, our original goal for Kidda was actually just 50k a month. Okay. But then we changed it and I said, actually, I don't just want to hit 50K. I want to hit recurring revenue. And I was like, okay, if it's recurring revenue, I'd be happy to actually make less, right? 30K MRR was actually, I'm very happy with that. Forget that. So I was like, okay, great. If it's recurring revenue, then I'll change my goal, because I've refined my vision. I've made it clear about what it is that I actually want. And the more clear it becomes of what it is that I want, the goalposts are going to shift accordingly as well. And the reason why that's important is because a lot of the time people set a goal in their head and then they don't give themselves the space to refine their goals. And then because they don't give themselves space to refine their goals, they start trying to achieve a goal that doesn't actually mean that much to them. And as a result, they'll fall short of it. Or even if they achieve it, they'll feel empty afterwards anyways, because it's like, that's not even what you actually care about. So for me, I'll always be like refining my goals. I'll always be improving them. I'll always be checking to see if they still resonate with me. And even if they don't always resonate with me massively, I'll still try and follow through on what I said. However, the first thing when it comes to your goals is that when you set a goal, that is not your final goal. That's your first draft of the goal. And you're going to go through iterations of, okay, this is how my goal could be improved. Okay, this is something else for me to consider my goal. So even when I'm thinking about like the MRR aspect, originally when I was thinking about get that, I was like, okay, I want to hit 50K. I can do that through the kind of current process that we're doing. I was like, okay, I feel confident by the end of 2026 we can do that. That's no problem. However, then when I said, actually, I want MRR, so monthly recurring revenue, if you don't know, that means that I can't do the kind of current way because they're just one-time purchases. What I need is then, I need to shift the model. I need to then shift the way that I'm going to execute on the goal, okay? That's fine, yeah? Things are going to change, things are going to shift. But what I recommend for you is that when you create a goal, don't just set a goal and then go after it. Create a goal and sit down with it, digest it, think about what it would be to have that. Think about what it would mean to your life. Think about the impact that would have. Get yourself bought in. You have to sell yourself on your goals. You have to sell yourself on your goals. If you don't sell yourself on the goals, then you're going to lose motivation, right? You're going to think, what am I doing this for? You're going to think, why is this worth it? You have to sell yourself and buy yourself in and lock yourself into a contract with yourself to say that I'm going to achieve these goals. If you don't do that, you are going to struggle with achieving them because there's always going to be that underlying lack of commitment. So, number one, figure out what your goals are going to be, write them down so you've actually got some clarity, and then refine them. Ask other people about your goals. Talk to other people about it. Journal on them yourselves. Challenge yourself to think about what it would like to actually be experiencing those goals, and then see, is that actually what I want for myself in my life? Then list out everything that it would probably cost for you to get to those goals. So for me, to get to get there, I might have to sacrifice my coaching. Okay? Is that a sacrifice I'm willing to make? Yeah, it is. Right? So that's okay. Right? I can put that down. It's going to cost a lot of time. Is that okay? Yeah, that's okay. It's going to cost a lot of effort. It's going to cost a lot of investment. Is that okay? Yeah, that's okay. I'm willing to now sacrifice these. And if I've wrote down what it costs and I've clarified what it's going to cost for me to achieve my goals, and I'm still saying yes to the goal. I'm still saying yes to being able to do all these things. I'm one step closer to achieving it because now you've got someone that's actually committed to achieving the goal. And who's going to be more likely to actually achieve a goal? Someone that's actually aware of the cost and is willing to commit to it, or someone that's going into it blind that has no idea what to expect. Yeah. So that's the next thing that I'd recommend. The other thing that is really important when it comes to setting goals is that this is why most people struggle with their New Year's resolutions, is that they see them once and then that's it. And then 4 months later they remember and then they're like, okay, well, I got busy or something else came up or something else was a bigger priority. When realistically, it's not that it was a bigger priority. It's that you didn't make it enough of a priority. Yeah. So when it comes to setting your goals and you're looking at what it is that you actually want to spend your time doing, I would say that once you've decided on a goal that you actually find meaningful, then you need to put it in places that are going to constantly remind you of what it is that you want to achieve. Yeah. Don't let yourself hide away from your own goals. Don't do it. It's a mistake. It's a way of making failure obscure. That's what it is. Because in your mind, what your brain is psychologically trying to do is trying to protect you from failure. So it's saying, if I've got a goal, let's say it's 30K MRR from Kidda, right? I'm like, okay, great. That's what I want to achieve. if I don't look at that goal for the next 2 months, or I kind of let myself forget about it, or I put it in a place, in a folder, in a document that's like locked up away somewhere on my laptop that I can't see it, then it's okay because I can distance myself from the goal. And then if I fail, I can be like, oh, there's other things that I'm looking at in my life that are more of a priority for me. Okay? And that gives me a way out. What I want you to do, and what I do myself, is that I make my goal very, very clear and obvious to me. And I put it in a place where I'm going to see it regularly. And I make sure that there's no escape from the goal. Because if I have a goal and I make it obscure, or I make it distance from my day-to-day life, then I'm going to find every excuse under the sun to have not have achieved that. If you actually think about this for a second, you only ever really have like one main goal in your life. Yeah? Like there's one top goal that you have above all other goals. You have like one main goal when you kind of get down to it. Okay? And if you're not sure what that goal is at the moment, the goal is, what would you die for? Right? Because there's only really like ever one ultimate thing that everything kind of pins down to. Yeah? It's like, we could really get into this from like a psychological point of view, but if you just think about this for a second of like, okay, what's more important to me? For example, my family, my goals. You might say like, my family is more important. Great. So if your family is the most important thing in your life, that is the thing that underpins everything. Okay? That's the most important thing. There's no ifs or buts. That's the most important thing. Okay? If it's your goals, if it's something else, like you can get to something and you can hit a rock bottom and be like, there's nothing in the world that I would sacrifice for this thing. When you get to the bottom of the list of like, this is the thing there's nothing in the world I'll sacrifice this for. That is the thing that underpins your entire life. That's a good thing to figure out, by the way, when it comes to figuring out your goals. Okay? Because you typically want something that's going to be aligned with that. If my goals are, just focused around, material possessions, I would sacrifice a lot of my material possessions for my character. Okay, so what's more important? What should my goals be about? Should my goals be around material possessions, or should it be about the thing that's underneath, which is my character? Should it be about the thing that's underneath that, which might be family? Should it be the thing that's underneath that, which is about serving others? What should my goals be around? And I would recommend trying going down the sacrificial ladder of what would I actually sacrifice the most for, and tie your goals to the thing that is at the absolute bottom, the absolute foundation, and try and tie all your goals to that. Okay? So I know it might sound like I'm kind of getting off to like a random topic. This is really important, because if your goals are really far away, and this is what I've experienced even with GTM Academy, I've had like really surface level goals often when it comes to like growing my business, of like, I want to hit this number on this screen. And it doesn't excite me, it doesn't motivate me at all, because it's just numbers on a screen. However, when it's like, okay, great, if I hit this, then it's going to tie to this thing, which is going to tie to that thing, which is going to allow me to do this thing, which is really important to me. So figure out like where it is that you're actually going, and why your top level goals or your surface level goals actually align at the bottom with the things that you actually care about the most in the world. Okay? Because I actually believe that it's an internal thing, that when you're on track to hit an important goal. When you're working towards something meaningful. And the second you stop working towards something meaningful, the goals feel empty. They don't actually feel like they mean anything. You lose motivation, you lose track of things, and then you start to do the thing which I mentioned of, you put things in folders in places where you're not going to see it. You kind of push your goals off to make them less and less important to you, because you're like, it's not that, like, it's just not that deep. Yeah. Your goals are really important. And what happens is that if I've got one big goal and I try to push that away and I say like, I'm not going to look at it that much, a void is created. And that void will be filled with other things that are less important than my goal. An intelligent person will fill their goal slot with an important goal, and they will keep it well within their vision. If you lose track and you lose sight of your main goal, if you lose sight of the most important goals that you have, then you will start to slowly lose control over your life. That's the cost of not being aware of your goals. You will slowly lose control over your life if you are not aware of the goals that you have. I used to do workshops and talks on this, where I would tell people about this video. You've probably seen it, where it's like there's these basketball players and they're playing basketball, and you've got to count how many times the team with the black t-shirts pass the basketball amongst each other, right? And it's like they pass the ball, it's like 8 or 9 times they pass the ball to each other. And what happens in the middle of this video is that a gorilla comes in, and the gorilla goes from one side, it does a little dance in the middle, and then it goes off to the other side, right? And what this video is there to tell us about is that when we initially set a goal for ourselves and we see that we're just counting the passes, a lot of people miss the gorilla and they don't pay any attention to the gorilla because they're so focused on the goal that they set out, okay? A goal works 2 ways. It tells you what to focus on, and it tells you what to not pay attention to, okay? The second you stop losing track of your own goals, you will stop focusing on the things that matter, and you will stop knowing what to ignore. This, in my opinion, will often lead to increased anxiety and increased depression, because things lose their value because they're not tied to anything that's actually meaningful, and you feel more stressed, and you will have this feeling of, I'm behind, I'm losing things that I should have control of, because you don't have track of your goals. The most calm, the most stoic people that I know exactly what they want out of life, and they know exactly what they're doing to get there. If you don't know what you want out of life and you don't know what you're doing to get there, it's because you're losing control over your goals. It's November, and I'm figuring out what my goals are going to be for December 2026. I like to know where I'm going. I like to know what my plans are. I like to see how I'm going to get there. And if things change along the way, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But it's better to be organized and know what it is that you want to do than to have no path, than to have no direction, and to have no hierarchy of priorities. Because that's when you're going to be painfully confused, because you just don't know what to do. Yeah? And if you're in this position, I feel sorry for you, right? And I also feel bad for you because most people just aren't taught this. No one taught me how to goal set. I didn't do a lesson on it in school that taught me how important it was to do goal setting. It's only through really delving deep into personal development where I realized how essential goal setting is. Yeah, you also become more resilient when you goal set. Yeah, you also become more resilient when you goal set. So, for example, I've just been watching a bunch of Mike Tyson highlights with my family, and in there, when there's people that are getting punched in the face by Mike Tyson, and they continue hitting back. Okay, if you took a random person on the street and they got punched in the face by Mike Tyson, they would just be like in shock. They'd be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that this just happened." They'd start telling other people about it. They'd be in a state of anxiety and adrenaline, and they wouldn't know how to deal with it, right? But if you go into a boxing match and your goal is to hit the other person, then the pain of getting punched in the face actually massively reduces, because goals actually have an analgesic effect, which is like a pain relieving effect. Because someone might break their jaw, someone might break their hand in a fight, but because they're so focused on something, those pains are reduced and their attention is focused on something else. And what you'll often see with a lot of boxers is that they'll be fighting the entire time, and they fight well. However, the second that the bell rings and the fight's over, they're like, I need to go to hospital because I've just realized that I've got all these problems going on. Yeah, but the thing that I want you to take from that is that by having a goal and by having a focus, you'll actually be able to deal much better with a lot of the problems that life is going to throw at you. Yeah, you'll be able to deal a lot better with the curveballs that are going to come your way because you've got focus. The people that don't have a focus, they just cower and hide, and they just cry about everything because they're like, something happened to me. Okay, it's like, yeah, great, something's happening to all of us. That's part of life. Okay, but at least if you've got a goal, you'll be able to deal with it and manage things much better. Okay, so I went through my goals. I went through why I've selected these goals. I've also tried to do my best to give you some advice on how to set goals and what kind of things to consider. I know this feels like a little rambly, but I really like speaking about this kind of stuff because I just don't think that anyone speaks about it enough. I don't know a single creator, a single influencer, a single course, program, anything that speaks about the importance of goal setting anywhere near enough. So I strongly advise you take some time, you take a day, 2 days, a week just to think about what you want. Think about your physical health. What are the goals I have? Think about your family. What are the goals that you have for that? Think about the different domains within your life and how can I set better goals? Yeah. And if you watch this video and you're like, you know what it is, I like what G's talking about. I want to get around other people that are speaking about their goals, that are speaking about improving themselves. Then I strongly recommend you join our academy through the link in our bio. It's completely free to join. We genuinely just want to be able to help people. And what's really nice for me as well now is that because I've got 2 businesses that aren't selling business coaching or personal development, and we just have a genuine community of people that we're trying to support and help, then hopefully you guys can see that we're very transparent about like what it is that we do and why we're doing it. We actually want to help people, because I know what it's like when I first started as an entrepreneur. Bro, there's so many things that are going through your head, so many situations you don't know how to deal with, and life is tough enough as it is when you're doing things by yourself. And much rather, if you're struggling, you've got a place to reach out to, you've got people that you can speak to, and hopefully this is a great place for you to join. So that's it from me. If you enjoyed this video, then stick around, because there'll be more videos like this, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.